Hi, this is Ethar, and I'm really glad to be in Tirana, contributor in Tirana. I'm here in downtown Cairo, as you can probably hear, and I'm really excited to contribute to this project, inshallah. All right. The issue of identity, I feel like in the world we live in today, because of the way that people live now, we cross cultures, we cross countries, we marry, we intermarry, we're born in one country but we're raised abroad, we're exposed to so much media. Our identities aren't anymore firm, kind of rigid things. Actually, like one of the awards I won for journalism was about identity. So for me, I've done a lot of thinking about this issue of identity. What are the most important identity traits that I see myself as? And I would definitely say the first thing I would define myself as a Muslim, and then as a female, and then as an Egyptian. To me, those are the most important identity traits. And if I can add on to this something else, is that in the world we live in today, we have so many multiple identities, but if you know your 3 or 4 most important ones, it's much easier to have a strong core, and then you can actually deal with the intercultural world we live in. Right. If I define myself as a Muslim Egyptian, when I talk first of Muslim, I'm a Muslim Egyptian woman. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stereotypes, and this has got to do a lot with media in the world we live in today. Like I said, there's already stereotypes against us. Like if you're raised abroad and you come here, there's so many. Anyway, so I would say, it's generalization. As a Muslim woman, I would say the 5, because I write for Muslima Media Watch, our website where we critique how Muslim women are represented in the media, and we've come up with the 5 biggest stereotypes about Muslim women, or the 5 ways we're presented. One is usually we're very oppressed. This is the one right now in the media, that we're very oppressed. We need all the help. We need to be liberated. Number 2, which is a remnant of like 100 years ago, we're very exotic and we're very sexy, and that you're just the woman in the harem. And then you have the stereotype, so many stereotypes, or the stereotype of the woman who's actually, how do I put this? You need to be, the newest stereotype is that you're breaking the stereotype. Like, whenever you do something different, like, this is the Muslim woman who has broken the stereotypes and she needs to be liberated. As Egyptians, that you're lazy, or that our attitude towards times, things that come from the culture and then they're generalized as something normal. As, of course, again, however, when it comes back to Muslim women, this is always our biggest problem, is that you're always represented as you need help, without us, without our help, you can't succeed. So definitely there are a lot of stereotypes, and it's a lot to do with the media, how the media presents us. And we do the same, actually, and there's a lot of stereotypes about how we present, as Arabs, present the West in general, so that needs help, that we're unaccepting, that we're very rigid, that our beliefs, our faith actually holds us back, and keeps us, you're not modern, you're not updated with the civilization as the world should be today. So there's a lot of stereotypes on both sides, and we need to fix those. The thing is, it was really easy to have a strong identity when you go back 100 years, when it was just you, your family, and your community. It was easy, all you knew is grow up, oh, I'm Egyptian, or I'm even part of this family, the idea of your family, your clan. But in the world we live in today, when there's so much exposure, when you have the concept, things like the third immigrant of people, like let's say an Egyptian who was raised all his life in America and comes back here, or double consciousness, the idea that you're aware enough of the world to be able to perceive yourself and see how others perceive you. This is what threatens your identity, that we have so many identities that it becomes kind of diluted, that you might not have a strong root, especially if you travel a lot or you meet a lot of different people. The more exposed you are to different things, the harder it is, if you don't have a very strong core and knowledge, and this is who I am and this is what I want to be, that you kind of get lost in the middle. All right, am I an Egyptian, or am I a citizen of the world? Is it more important for me that I'm my gender or my nationality? It depends on the context and the country you live in, it affects you. So definitely, if I'm saying my identity, to be threatened, it would be your biggest threat to your identity is yourself, kind of. The more you do stuff, and the more sheltered you are, the easier it is to be, this is my identity, just like, for example, dialogue, it's so much easier to be shaken in your beliefs the more You have to think about them. It's easy to take things, on blind faith or something when it comes to faith. Just take it like it is. But once you start asking questions and going, that's what threatens you. So it's easy to get kind of lost in the world now, especially since we're like how many billion people. But you actually have the biggest chance now to be bridges between cultures or to meet different people. We have the most opportunities in the world we live in today, and we should take advantage of them, I think. As in related to identity? Definitely for me, I would ask, because this is a question I've thought of a lot, how do you define, your identity, where does it come from? Is it more, Amin Maalouf, the writer who writes on identity, he wrote a really famous book on identity. He asked, is vertical like your family more important, or the horizontal kind of influences, your environment? How do you define yourself? What's more important? Is it nature or nurture? When you come to is it because you were born this way, or how did you decide which identity traits were the most important to you? Is it because, let's say, I'm betting if someone lives in a country where there's war, then maybe nation would be important. But if the war is something religion, if you're talking about Israel and Palestine, maybe where faith comes in, then maybe faith becomes more important. To think more about, why do you define yourself the way you do? What made those things the most important to you? That would be a cool question. You're welcome.